welcome to Let's Get Spooky. I'm Leanna Vamp.
I'm AJ.
And I'm Ashley.
And although we are very sad that we are not joining you in the city of San Diego for San Diego Comic-Con this year, it is exciting that we get to do this from our couch.
I know. This is a little more comfortable. It's not as hot.
Definitely not as hot.
Yeah, but we don't get our little name tags.
We don't have, we should have made our own name
should have had our own.
Man.
Dang it, we messed up. This is a Comic-Con at Home edition, and if you're not familiar with our show, Let's Get Spooky is a show all about the spooky side of life. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about horrors on set. So cursed films, weird movie things gone wrong.
Little accidents.
Just little
eggs.
accidents.
I almost said egg nuggets. little Easter eggs.
So all sorts of things all around the horror genre and movie sets and films. So you're going to start because you have the
I have
little
some funny.
accidents.
I have my whole life is a happy accident. So I'm going to talk about little. Like I said, I almost said egg nuggets again. Little Easter eggs, little things that people have left in movies.
But not on purpose.
Not on
Not like the
purpose.
Pixar way.
Which I spot them all the time. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very much like looking for people to mess up.
Yeah, we were watching a movie the other night, and I'm like, oh, there's a crew member. Oh, there's someone hiding in the back seat.
There's a lot of these that are very blatant crew members just walking casually. And
oops.
One of my favorite ones is in Braveheart. And there is a crew member who like literally walks behind the main scene in a baseball cap. Just walking by. You can fully see him.
Was it like a battle scene where there was a lot of people?
Yeah.
So
well, no, it wasn't. It was a close up, almost conversation. And it's this scenic, like there's like the eye contact.
Yeah.
Everyone's in it. And then this guy just blazes on in the background.
Do you think someone gets fired? Like, do you think someone gets fired because it was their job?
I think it would almost be the editor. But then again, when you have like checks and balances, you think, well, maybe there was one main guy who watched the whole movie and should have seen it. Like the last person to send it out, and they clearly didn't do their job. But it's kind of funny.
But there's usually like a continuity person or like a checker on set.
Well, they need like 4 eyeballs then.
Well, we see it happen in like major productions. And then I always think, okay, someone obviously missed it. But then the thing got to
There's
the point.
There's a lot of people on movies.
There is a lot of people, but somehow someone or a lot of people weren't paying attention. And then I got to the point where they're like, here's the final edit. And then the person saw it and they're like, well.
Kind of like in Game of Thrones with the Starbucks cup.
Yeah, they're like,
happened.
It's too late and we are out of money.
I think people get tired at the end too. Like when I was thinking about all the Game of Thrones debaucheries, it happened many times. There was the Starbucks cup. And then in the next few episodes, they were like, hey, there's a water bottle by his foot. And they're like, whatever. Like they just gave up.
I thought it was
there was 2 more water bottles. No, there was multiple bottle scenarios in cups.
Maybe it's a sponsorship.
Maybe.
Product placement.
Yeah, product placement.
Starbucks and Dragons.
Yep.
There was another similar thing in Gladiator, and it was after the Battle of Germania, if I'm saying that right, and Maximus stops and he's feeding his horse, and his head is here, the horse is here, and you see blue jeans walking by in the background, like Wrangler jeans.
So are these all things that are still in the final cut, or did they?
Unless they've made an additional one since
like remastered.
But I don't know if they would remaster it for a pair of Wranglers. That's what I don't understand.
I don't think.
I think it's just funny.
I think in some cases it's funny for the people that notice it because obviously the people aren't going to come out and be like, oops, we made a mistake because they don't want to bring more attention to it.
Those are small ones too. I mean, I can understand a background, but then in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, there is a scene where Aubrey Woods, he's singing the Candyman song and he's at the counter. The kids are like, yeah, Candyman. And he pulls up that wooden thing that lets you in the back and it pegs a chick in the face. It pegs a child. He pulls it up and she goes, wonk. Like she gets,
her chin is over.
Oh yeah. You watch it. It's not hilarious, but it's like when you see it now and no one saw that when it was clearly in like the third of that part of the actual movie.
And it's like probably a tight on the thing being flipped over.
Oh yeah. Highly recommended if you're having trouble sleeping.
Well,
just watch some
some things gone wrong. But you know what's funny is they probably did that more than once.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm sure they didn't hit the kid in the face every time, but the fact that
that was the take that they chose.
The take was a little
he hit those notes perfectly on that take.
Sometimes
We
you
have
sacrifice.
To do it. Yeah,
you
you just have to do
sacrifice
it.
for the art
I would
of the
sacrifice
craft.
it if he was singing me a song. And then one of my other favorites was in Titanic. And this is more like a technicality thing because it's not stunt oriented totally, but It's when Rose is trying to get the handcuffs. I'm like, handcuffs. The handcuffs off of him while they're sinking. And she goes to use the axe and it's supposed to hit in the middle. But then in the actual movie, she completely misses and hits his hand. But no one sees it. They act like she just did the job. And
So is that on camera where you can see it, but you're just not focused?
it's so quick, but someone hit that exact second. And
My favorites are like
quite
when
funny.
they walk into the room and then they walk out and you clearly know it was 2 different takes, but like the shirt's on the wrong way or they're wearing shoes.
missing
and
a
the
belt.
wrong
Or if they eat
shoes.
something, like if they take a slice of cake and like for one, like they go to take it, it's like this small, but then like the other shot, it's like 3 times
They
bigger.
did 17 takes in between. And
They
then
don't
you did
know the
cake.
size of cake they cut.
One of my biggest pet peeves is hair, like hair and makeup, especially on girls. So you'll see like a movie and you're like, oh, I know this 30 minutes was shot a completely different day.
Yeah.
Because like her hair is perfectly curled.
And then it deflates.
And then it's like flat and then it's frizzy and then it's curled again. And I'm like, come on, people.
We
girls
see
are
this
never the
too.
same.
Yes. I think a lot of people at the end of, productions, they're just like, let's get it out. We have a deadline. We're going to pop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're focusing on
Yeah.
other stuff. They're focusing on the line, making sure like the emotion's there. They're not like staring at, oh, this curl is
Yeah.
facing forwards instead of facing back like it was in the shot before.
Yeah.
I
And
would be
it's-
fired if that was my job. I'd be like, oh man.
And those are things I don't notice. Like I am picky and I notice dumb stuff like gaffer tape where I'm like, ooh, that's weird. Shouldn't have done that.
the girl wearing the shoes and now her shoes are
not
off.
the guy in the nice Wrangler jeans in a 14th century piece.
Or like, I think a common one is like where they're in an old timey movie and they have like a watch, like an Apple Watch
Oh,
or
yeah.
something.
They're
and you're
checking
like,
their steps.
gotta get my steps in on set,
Gotta.
right?
But anyways, those are my favorites, so worth mentioning.
I find it's not really a game that I play, but I always keep an eye out for those kinds of things, especially, and I find it fascinating when it's huge, like Game of Thrones, huge productions where there is so many eyeballs on the monitors, on the editing bays and everything. And you're like, how does that slip through? But sometimes I wonder if they do it on
Totally
purpose.
does. I can see it either being on purpose because then it gets talk up and then you already watched it, maybe you didn't catch it, so then you have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
So it gets like the views up, but at the same time, I feel like a production like Game of Thrones that has so many people on it, sometimes it's too many. It's like the too many cooks.
Too many
in the
cooks,
kitchen.
yeah.
Like there's just so many eyeballs on it that nobody's all looking at the same thing.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I love too is like in horror flicks where when there's like gore and like special effects makeup and stuff and you see the hose
wonky,
or whatever.
yeah.
And although like that's the goal is to not have any of that be seen, like sometimes you're like, that's kind of rad because you know it's real and people actually made it and it wasn't perfect, but they did the best that they could with what they had. And now people kind of try to do those things on purpose to pay homage to like the campy stuff in horror movies. But I find that fascinating when you're like, you could see the prosthetic is like not, or the bald cap is not quite
It's
there.
not
and-
perfectly on.
But I appreciate it.
It's
So,
cute.
it's fun.
it's
It's a little
cute.
more homemade.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about movies is like when there's just like kind of like weird movie facts that like you don't like, just from like the production and stuff. So I just wrote down some interesting movie facts. Speaking of Titanic, apparently the charcoal drawing of Kate Winslet was by James Cameron.
Oh, really?
That's cute.
I thought that was kind of fun. Psycho, this is one of my favorite Psycho facts. Psycho was the first U.S. film to feature a toilet flush
Whoa, scandal.
because she tears up the note and then she writes down like how much money she spent for that she took and then how
Right.
much she spent. Then she tears it up and puts it in the toilet and flushes it down.
So toilets, I mean, you've seen toilets and
Like in backgrounds and stuff,
Right.
but you'd never seen like one
The
in
unspoken flush.
Yeah.
when you
like
act, how do
being
you,
flushed.
That's
what do you do
groundbreaking.
with the toilet?
Yeah. What do we do
Which
in the
is so
shadows?
weird to think.
Oof.
Yeah.
Another Psycho fun fact, the blood used in Psycho was chocolate syrup because it's black and white. So you don't have to care about what the color is going to
Yeah.
be. It's just the consistency. And the chocolate syrup is kind of like that middle, like it's not too goopy, but it's like
Yeah.
not too liquidy.
And it also doesn't stain. Chocolate syrup was like a common thing that they would mix in with fake blood too to give it like that darker color. Because some fake blood you'll see is really red.
Yeah, it's
you know,
like
and it's
so
like,
bright and you can see through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Must have smelled good on set.
And the main thing is it
chocolatey.
doesn't, anything with like actual blood, it has red dye in it. So a lot of the times they would use it. And again, in black and white, it doesn't matter the color, but it would stain your skin really quickly. So
Yeah.
chocolate syrup doesn't do that.
Yeah. The snow in Wizard of Oz during the poppy field scene was actually made from like asbestos flakes, which is stuff that you don't want to get on your skin. And like, there's like Wizard of Oz is one of those movies where it just has all those kind of like dark facts, like, you know, the silver paint poisoning and all those horror.
Asbestos snow. It has the look.
Asbestos is the bestest. That was probably what sold them.
That was on the cruise shirt.
Yeah, man.
It's the snowflakes you don't want to catch on your tongue when you're out.
But you know what? Unfortunately, we have to learn things, and sometimes we learn by them sprinkling asbestos snow and then being like, maybe
that
that's
wasn't
not
the
a good
right
idea
thing to do. Oopsies. And then I just wanted to kind of talk about one of my favorite horror movies that has like all these like really cool production facts around it, which is the Blair Witch Project. Like just everything about it, I think is like really cool. The way that it was made, they just basically sent the actors out into the woods, and it took 8 days to shoot. They had to improvise.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it took only 8 days. They improvised everything. They would use GPS like trackers to bring them to different spots where they would have canisters hidden, and each actor would get their own canister, which would have a note in it, and they would say things like, Heather, you're absolutely sure to that to get out of this mess, you need to go south. Don't take no for an answer. So just kind of like little lines,
puzzles almost.
like basically
Like an
putting
escape room.
putting your character in this, like kind of just giving you like little hints of like what your character's mindset is going to be. And then they would like improvise. There was also Josh, somewhere along the way today, you've had it with this. So like it would give them kind of like what that day.
It's like planting a seed in their mind to put them without
and then they
telling
would
them what to say.
improvise everything. Yeah. And I just think that's amazing. So they like ended up with all this footage and they edited it down to like what you see in the movie.
Because I mean, not like when you watch the movie, and I say that's crazy, like 8 days, just because getting anything like an actual feature film done in 8 days, but without really having a script. And again, there's not a whole lot that really happens when you watch the movie.
And also like not a bunch of setup. So it's like usually on a normal set, you have to like set up a bunch of lights. You have to block where the camera is going to go. You have to do all this stuff. For this, like, you know, they're shooting it themselves. It's like their point of view. So it's,
which is pretty good. I mean, you're hoping it's a lot of like hopeful thoughts because you're hoping that what you get back is
Not a dud.
not a dud.
Yeah.
And you can imagine like handing someone a camera, especially like now, you know, there's the LCD screens on it. They were like, you know, like you can look into the thing, but like, how do you know, like you have to put your trust in that actor that they're shooting it correctly.
Right. And I'm sure they had like a training session where they're like, this is how you hit record and blah, blah, blah. But even thinking about now, like if you were to hand someone a camera like that now that really had no experience in film and stuff, they would like not know where's the screen? How do I do it?
I did that once with my friend and I said, document your day, and they didn't know how to use the iPhone, so they filmed when they shouldn't have been filming. So it's like the opposite. Yeah. Kind of like they were supposed to shoot like a minute of them walking down this path, and then they stopped it and then shot like it in his pocket.
That's amazing.
We're like 5 minutes.
So good.
That is the director's like worst nightmare. They get all the cameras and
you're
it's
just like we just spent 8 days in the forest and the only footage we have is the camera in your backpack. Like
great job.
Great job, everyone.
I thought so when Blair Witch Project came out, at first there was like one interesting thing, and I don't know if you have this in your notes, of like the marketing tactics.
Oh, the marketing around
did.
it was absolutely amazing.
It was
like,
pretty clever.
You could never replicate it.
Yeah.
Like today, because they approached it as if it was real. They're like, it was in the infancy of internet. So they used that to their advantage where they went onto like the AOL message boards. They created a website. I know. What's that? They created a website that looked like it was made by the actors, which are like, you know, the students. They put it out as if it was like a documentary, which is like so cool. a lot of people who went to go see it didn't know if it was real or not.
Yeah.
My boyfriend Matt said that like he specifically remembers walking into the theater with his friend Kai and just being like, this is going to be really cool. And like everyone in the theater was like, is this real? Is this not real?
Like they spread a little bit of doubt and enough doubt for people to talk about it.
To keep talking about it. And they even like did cool things. Like they went to like the IMDb pages for the actors and put missing or deceased on their pages.
Which is completely illegal to do now.
Yeah, you cannot do that today. Which is why I'm like, this is like, you can never replicate it for the time. It was absolutely amazing. It was so convincing to where some of the actors said that their family was getting condolence letters because they thought that their family had died because they thought it was real.
Well,
like
I think
stuff like that is nuts to me.
They were able to get away with things like that. I know that it's a movie, The Fourth Kind. It's an alien abduction movie. I believe it's the city's in Juneau, Alaska. Somewhere in Alaska. Juneau might not be the right city, but the production company actually like made a fake website and they put up all these articles to basically say like these things have happened here, and they got in huge trouble. They actually got sued by the city and they had to settle. They didn't say how much they settled for, but like, and that was still, I mean, quite a few years ago when that film came out. So now you try to do something like that and they're like, nope, nope, that's against the law.
Maybe you could on the dark web.
Yeah,
we can't tap into that.
That's to reach the masses of Facebook and
that's
Instagram
not a very good
and the
promotion.
youth. Yeah,
That's true.
I know that with the Blair Witch, they actually had like VHS tapes floating around that people they were given or they would find them or whatever, and that helped kind of prove that point. Like, oh, it's actually found footage. This is real. Like you got your hands on it early and you could check it out. So people were really believing in it. I remember seeing the commercials, and we had talked about this on another episode of like the commercials popping up during like the preview commercials popping up during like a regular nighttime TV shows, and it scared the crap out of me. I was a kid, you know, and I was like, what is this? And why is this coming on like right before America's Funniest Home Videos? You know, I was like, but I didn't believe that it was real.
Yeah. Well, they also put out like documentary style about the Blair Witch, like just setting up the backstory. So like even when you went to the theater, like you knew what the Blair Witch was and you knew about this town and all that stuff, which I think they played on normal television too.
Yeah, they did a really good job of creating their own hype, which now I feel like there's so much content coming out so quickly that it's just like fast money. We just want to put a ton of money into commercials. We want a bunch of people to see it opening weekend, and then that's it. We're on to the next production.
It's not creating that mystery.
Right.
I do like how Black Mirror has been putting actual mirrors out saying that we're in season 6 right now. Have you seen that?
No.
On like bus
I haven't
stops,
seen that.
there's instead of like a poster, it's just a giant mirror and you look into it and it's like now playing season 6 and like you're in it because this year has been so crazy.
Oh my God.
That I think is brilliant.
That's clever marketing.
I mean, that was a joke going on. I kept seeing these memes. I was like, it's so
apparently
funny.
it's real.
So
Gonna
this
end.
whole, when is this Black Mirror episode going to end?
I'm like, that's the best I've seen so
Yeah.
far in like viral marketing that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
And I know like as far back as like Exorcist, when that movie came out, how they basically like created their own hype of like people are passing out and like they basically made the outcome that they wanted by just saying it, whether it was real or not. And I think that is kind of the magic of suggestion because people are willing to not research things.
Yeah.
And even today, which I find super interesting, is with the age of the internet, people are still willing to take like someone's word for it. You know, if someone's like, oh, you know, this crazy thing happened, and you're like, oh, really? And that's how the kind of the snowball effect starts rolling, and people spread it.
Turns
and,
into stories of like, oh, my cousin went to go see it and he passed out.
yeah, in the game of like telephone of by the time it gets to you, he like had a stroke in the theater and you don't want to see it.
Someone died from fright.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's like a little bit of a harsh tactic, but sometimes like those type of things work, especially in the horror genre, because we've kind of seen everything, like blood, guts, gore, suspense, drama, thrillers. Like we've seen so much. So for people to come up with like unique tactics to get people interested is pretty clever.
Of the everyday normal stuff.
So my stuff is talking about curses, you know, good old
your good old
curses.
curse.
And one of my favorite horror films is Poltergeist. And if you're a fan of horror, you probably know about the Poltergeist curse. I wouldn't say that I necessarily believe that it's an actual curse. I think it's a series of unfortunate events, but it's very easy to lump it under that category. I feel like curses can be real. I don't know anyone that has been cursed. I don't know any stories where I can be like, yeah, that's absolutely real.
I believe in it.
I don't necessarily rule it out. I wouldn't say like, oh, that can't happen because I don't have great luck, so I would probably get cursed.
I feel like if they're big, substantial curse scenarios that are blatantly not normal, that's some otherworldly stinker.
Well, and also there's coincidence, and then there's a level that things reach where it's like, I don't know if that's
not
really
that many things can happen.
Right. So basically the whole thing behind the Poltergeist curse is there were 4 deaths of cast within the 3 films that happened. And so typically like any death of someone on a set is super unfortunate. But when you have so many, immediately everyone was like, this franchise is cursed. And Carol Ann, which is the main character that when you say poltergeist, that's the person people automatically gravitate towards and remember, was one of those fatalities. So 2 of the deaths were unexpected, which I would say led more to the idea of it being cursed. And then 2 of them they say were expected in the sense that the people were older, they were already in bad health, and it wasn't necessarily, it was super unfortunate, but it wasn't a surprise. The whole thing of it being a curse was because people were saying that someone died while the films were being shot, which was actually, it's false. Everyone that passed away had passed away after they were done shooting. So the rumors were going around that it's cursed because someone died while filming and it was called the Poltergeist curse. But a lot of that misinformation, again, just spread because it wasn't the time of the internet where people had facts, where it was really word of mouth spreading and people talking about it.
Heather O'Rourke was, they weren't done filming Poltergeist 3, right?
They were done.
Well, because I think the last shot, they had one more shot to do. And the last shot is a double.
That's
why you don't
what
see
I
her
read,
face.
but that's actually not from the articles that I read. They said that wasn't true. So I guess I don't know.
The director, I think, said that.
Maybe, I don't know. The 2 articles that I read said that was a thing that like the dates didn't necessarily line up, but they could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Things.
Yeah, or they could be like not obviously wanting to publicize that. But if the director came out and said it, then I mean, I don't know why he would have lied. So the first death is a girl by the name of Dominique. It's Dunn? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Dominique Dunn. She was 22 years old and she plays the older sister. So she plays Dana Freeling. And so she dies November 4th, 1982 at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, 4 days after her boyfriend choked her into a coma from which she never awoke. So weeks earlier, she had ended her abusive relationship with her live-in boyfriend in Los Angeles. And on the night of, I didn't realize it was the day before Halloween, the 30th of October, 1982, he dropped by and basically was trying to like reconcile and like fix it. And, you know, clearly
I don't trust these LA boys.
don't let him back in the
Don't
house.
let him in.
So he was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced in November 1983, released in 1986. So he only served 3 years and 8 months of a 6.5-year sentence because and we've kind of touched upon this before, is he didn't go in, it wasn't first degree murder. He didn't go in with the intent, which we don't know this because she was the only one.
He was crazy.
He was, yes, but she was the only one
my
there.
guess.
So who's to say he didn't go in saying I'm going to kill her? He just clearly didn't say that he
There's just
had
no
intention.
like hard evidence that shows that that it was premeditated, that he was thinking about going there to kill her ahead of time.
So, I mean, the one super sad thing is that she died basically right after the film had been released. And she was 22 years old. She was great in the movie. She had, I mean, from everything that I gathered, I was like, this girl's going to get a ton of work. You know, when I was a kid and I saw the movie, I didn't know that she'd passed away. I didn't have any of that information. So you think about those cases where she had her whole life ahead of her. She was just in a huge film that was going to get her so much notoriety and people were going to know people would be talking about her. and her life was taken away from her from a crazy ex.
Crazy dude. Yeah. Well, if I was Judge Judy, I would have given him life.
Well, I mean,
in prison. That's why I'm not
voluntary manslaughter. You can't. That's not like an actual.
Not to judge,
I don't
actually.
like him. I don't like him.
I mean, I don't like him either. I don't deserve it.
Does.
I don't think he deserved to be out
right.
either.
Or at least half a life sentence with horrible food choices.
At least more than 3 years and 8 months for
crazy.
killing somebody.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that was unfortunate. The next one is Heather O'Rourke, the little girl who played Carol Ann. And she basically started filming the movies when she was 6 years old. And she unexpectedly passed away at the age of 12 when she died of septic shock in 1988. So what had been thought to be a bout of like the flu, they just thought she had the flu. She ended up in cardiac arrest and wow, let me start this over. She ended up in cardiac arrest and during the drive to the local hospital as bacterial toxins set loose by a bowel obstruction. So she ended up actually having Crohn's disease, which is a very, not necessarily like a common thing now, but it's a thing that people understand. It's a thing that doctors know what it is. It's a thing they know how to treat. But at the time, it was not a thing. They're just like, something's wrong internally. And I mean, those types of things, unless there's education or the doctors know what it is, they don't go in necessarily how to treat it.
You just missed it.
They're like, her stomach hurts. She's got the flu. And I mean, basically it's like a blockage with Crohn's and the toxin set in and she died. And you think of, again, a cute little girl that was in all of these films that everyone like. You say Carol Ann, that's Poltergeist, you know?
Carol Ann.
And it's just so sad. You think of all of these things that like now with science and technology, we know how to treat. But
something like that wouldn't really have happened.
Right. Yeah. And
unless it's cursed.
Unless it's
a curse.
Yeah. And so when you think of like, they say the curse but then you hear these people's individual stories, you're like, that's just sad. It's just unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that all of them were part of this one thing. Yeah. So now we're going to say it's cursed. So, it says the circumstances surrounding her passing rendered her death even more of a shock than otherwise it would have been. She went overnight from being a little girl who had the flu to basically dying over septic shock. And one of the main things that I think was the most heartbreaking for most of the people is that she looked fine. Like they kept saying like she looked healthy, she seemed healthy, and then one day she just got sick and you would just assume, oh, my kid has a cold or my kid has the flu, and then she died. So the other two deaths, I'm going to go through them because we have a very limited amount of time. So I'm going to go through them very quickly. Julian Beck was a 60-year-old actor who played the evil spirit Cain, passed away. And then Will Sampson, a 53-year-old Native American actor who portrayed the good spirit Taylor in Poltergeist 2, also passed away. And those were the two people that they said were not expected, but they had some health conditions. They had some health issues that people weren't as surprised that it happened. They kind of knew that it was coming. So although, again, I don't necessarily believe the film is cursed.
That doesn't feel like enough for me to think that film is cursed. I think the fact that it's horror and the fact that people were dying, they're like, ooh.
And that was one of the main things that people were saying is like, it's easy to say that the movie dealt with a poltergeist and it dealt with like spirits and meddling with things that you shouldn't be meddling with. And it was easy to pull that from the film to the real world and be like, this is actually, they shouldn't have been filming something about, poltergeists and spirits and stuff. And that's why this happened. And it's like, it was a movie.
I'd be just curious to see like from other people who worked on it, if there were certain people that weren't affected health-wise, but felt any type of like heaviness constantly. Because that's like a thing where then I could understand, hey, like there's a cursed energy around this and some people are being affected more than others. But from my research, there was nothing. I mean, there's plenty of other films where people are like, no, that set was absolutely haunted. Poltergeist, there was no information about that. So bummer.
Yeah. So I'm
inconclusive.
Sure there's some curses out there. And maybe we'll find one. Maybe our set,
we don't experience.
Maybe our set will be cursed one day, and we can tell you all the stories about it.
I don't need another one. I'm good.
You're all.
That's another story.
So, do you guys have anything else? Any weird horror movie on set shenanigans?
No.
We just have a living horror that's about to happen in front of us.
Yeah. We do, and So up next, you guys are in for an extra special treat. We do a segment of our show on Let's Get Spooky called Creepy Treats. And we're doing a special thing, which is called What's in the Coffin. And as you can gather, we're going to put something in the coffin and we're going to have to figure it out. We can't see. We have to use our senses, everything but our sight and our smell, I guess, because we can't really smell it either.
That's true.
You can smell
You
mine.
just use your feelies.
You use your feelies, and we got to figure out what it is. So give us 1 second, and we'll be right back. All right, Fiend, so we are back for What's in the Coffin. Ashley has put her thing inside the coffin, so AJ and I have to figure it out. So
Very excited.
I mean, not really.
That's not really the word for it, but okay.
I really, when we started this whole thing, figured I'm not afraid of a whole lot. It's going to be fine. Like, I won't be scared. And then the first one we did, I was like, I don't like this game.
This one you're going to have to ease in because it might.
Okay, you ready? So
Like
we're
a cherry.
AJ and I are going to do this together. So we're each getting one. Okay, hand in the thing. Is it?
Wait, it's hairy.
Ew, wait, what
what's
is that?
That feels hard.
That it feels alive. I thought our rule was it can't be alive. Is it a vegetable?
It has hair.
It's
Wait, what's this?
this? Oh, is that your hand?
Yeah,
What is that?
wait, it's like a tail.
No, this is vegetation. This is like a plant. Yes, but you don't.
Is
It's
it
a
a radish? Like,
No.
oh. Is it an onion?
No.
Is
Well, I don't know.
This feels like an onion.
It feels like an onion.
Does it smell? Can I smell my hand? Will it smell?
You can smell it.
Nope. Smells like
I was like, nothing.
water.
it smells like.
It feels like a root vegetable.
Yeah, it's like a root vegetable because they
It
are the
is.
roots and it has this.
And I feel like it goes like this, upright.
Oh, I can't see.
no,
Your,
down way.
I can't
Oh
see.
wait, yeah, it grows.
The root. So this is the.
Oh, is
top
this
and
the
that goes-
roots or is this the flowering things that come out and then you pull it? And yeah, other way. The roots would have been on the top and you cut them off.
I was hoping you thought it was a hairy leg, but you guys are being too.
I feel like
accurate.
it's a vegetable.
It's some type of
Would you like to reveal? Because
Sure.
you're very close.
Okay.
It's been known to be called a fennel bulb.
Oh, fennel. Oh.
Okay.
Wait,
That's
I
a
would,
good
I
one.
would name her Dorothy. She's got a nice curvature.
Did you break her? Or did we break her?
I broke her.
Oh.
I had to
Yeah.
break her to fit her.
But don't you just use the
I don't
The
know.
stringy
Do I
parts
look
of
like
the
I
fennel?
eat fennels?
We don't know. You don't eat anything green.
Looks like an
so.
ocarina of time from Zelda. If you
It
really
totally
want to carve
does.
it out.
Okay.
Straddle this.
So this is my thing. And Ashley and AJ are going to try to figure it
So
out.
I'm going through this side now.
Yeah. You have to actually touch it this time. Don't be a baby.
Shut up.
Wait, what's this? Oh wait, what is that?
Wait, is that you?
What does that even mean?
That's not you.
It's Gizmo.
Dang it.
It's a wet. You're not supposed to get a wet.
But you
A
already...
wet- That's what she said.
You're not supposed to.
That's
get
not
him wet.
Gizmo. That's Yoda. Yoda.
Yoda.
I know from Canada.
I was trying to throw you off by getting him wet, then thinking, okay, if he's wet, they're not going to think that it's
Look at his little
Gizmo. But then I'm really... I
That
need to
took
up
2
my game.
seconds.
You guys, they've been figuring
The
out my
problem-
stuff
the
really...
problem is that I own one of those.
Wet Gizmo is my AOL name back when I had it. Didn't really get me much though.
Look how cute he is. Wait, so you already knew because you knew what he felt like?
I know what that one feels. And then also you always have it up there. God
Dang it.
gone.
Cameron was like, oh, we should take it down because they'll notice that he's gone. I was like, nobody pays attention to that.
Are you kidding? That's all I look at when I do the show.
Well, you know what? I suck at my job.
my turn.
Oh.
Okay. Now
Wait,
here
come
is my.
Oh, can I open my eyes?
Yes, you can open your eyes.
I'm nervous.
My turn.
I'm nervous because she always does weird things.
Hers are very abstract art.
Okay. Are you going? Ready? Is your hand? Is it low?
Ew.
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 It's
Oh my god, I don't like this.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
Then
I'm
tell
not-
me.
No, I'm not going to say it yet. Wait, is
Ashley,
that what
what
it
is
is?
this?
Is that a bean?
It's round. It's in water, right? It's in water or a liquid.
Is this meat?
I know what it is.
I don't like this.
I'm gonna let you.
No.
I'm gonna.
Ew.
That was me. What do you think it is?
What? I won't say it.
What?
Sacks of
There's
fluid.
children in the room.
Every child has a Sack of fluid.
Wait, what kind of sack of fluid is
A
it?
grape
With its what?
with its face peeled off. An onion.
No, it's a grape, right?
Yeah,
it's a skinned
it's a
grape.
skinless
Skinned
grape.
grape. Okay.
Which is what they sometimes use as eyeball
Can
effects
I eat
in
it?
horror movies. Yeah, why not?
You washed your hands, right?
No.
It's a green grape, very tangy.
I'm not going to eat it because you touched them all.
I knew exactly what it was because I remember, I don't know if we were talking about it or someone, I was like, oh, that's such a good one. And I was saving it, but no.
Aha!
Dang it.
Got it before you.
So I would say that was a successful episode. We figured it all out. Usually we don't.
Yeah,
so
usually we don't. So.
Well done. Our senses are getting better.
Heightened.
As long as we
senses.
don't lose our hands in any accidents. Because then we are.
Because the holes
Not
are only
good.
big enough to put your hands through. So
I can't-
unfortunately,
yeah.
you don't
Your
get to
little
play.
feetsies.
All right, Fiend. So thanks for joining us for Let's Get Spooky. If you would like to see more of our episodes, you can watch them at letsgetspooky.com. You can also listen on iTunes as well as on Spotify. So I'm Leanna Vamp.
I'm AJ.
I'm Ashley. And that is where we're done.
Bye.
And don't forget to stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.
Forgot my name.